All right, we're on air. It is Thursday, June 20th, and this is a meeting to check in on active development tasks for Backdrop CMS. Before we get into core, I just want to say welcome to Korantari, who has ported the Mosaic Grid module, and thanks for applying to be a contrib maintainer. We also have a couple of updates on backdropcms.org. We covered several of them in the design and user experience meeting. So if you're interested in checking out what we're working on there, you can go ahead and watch that video, but we're not going to talk about it here. More exciting though, our translation site all of a sudden is getting a whole bunch of activity. We've got new people volunteering to maintain new translations of Backdrop, and we have a whole bunch of people actually using it, which is fantastic. We built it, we didn't know if they would want it. Everyone's using it, which is great. So I just wanted to say another thank you to Olaf for putting in all the time to get that going for us.
Yep. Amazing work. Also, new projects as well, the corresponding node references thing that Herb has put together. So that's, yeah, a new contrib.
Right. I missed that. Thank you. So yeah, we did get a new contrib project this week, as Clona said, corresponding node references. I don't know what that does, but I'll check it out.
Yep, syncs the node reference between two content types which have node reference to each other.
Oh, nice. Okay, so moving on to Backdrop. Nate's not here this week. He is at a client on site. So I just want to run through some of these issues. We have a couple of, well, I guess it looks like just one bug that we think is very important for issue 113.3, and that is this views is none of operator broken. So this is something that I have a bunch of sites that when we updated to 112.5, all of their like homepage views ended up broken. And so I've been maintaining this patch for a while. And now that we have the automated update thing in core, people are very tempted to push it, and then things break again because core needs to have these patches. This one I think is the one that is most obviously affecting people. And so I would love to get it in. We've had a fix for it now for a very long time. It hasn't gone in because it hasn't had tests. The tests that Drupal wrote are really complicated. I had a very bad day last Friday because I thought it was going to take me 15 minutes to port the tests from Drupal to Backdrop. Instead, it took me 5.5 hours. So yeah, I was very frustrated, but it is mostly done. I got really upset and was like, I got all of them testing and passing except for 2. I quit and I like pushed my code and went to bed. And I woke up the next morning and Gregory had come in and commented. He's like, I figured out why the last 2 tests aren't passing. So thank you, Gregory.
No, I didn't actually figure out that was the reason. I just pointed was that the fix?
I'm pretty sure. I haven't looked at it yet, but I was like, oh, obviously I didn't even think of that. So
okay.
Yeah.
Serendipity.
Thank you. Yeah, so hopefully that'll be ready for another review, and we'll get it in for the next.
Which one was it? Was it the one that instead of 3 you were creating 10 or something, or was it the other thing, the deprecated function?
No, I think it was the 3 users problem.
Okay.
So the way what the test is testing, this is sort of complicated, is if you have like a tags field on your content and you have a tags field on your users, and you do a view where you're like, show me the results of all of the tag fields, you're supposed to like only get the nodes if you want the nodes and only get the users if you get the users, but you might get results from both of those fields. And so this test is testing that it gets the right entity type as well as field value. And so what Drupal had done to do this is it had started from scratch and it said, okay, create 1 node and then create another node and then create another user. And now you have 2 users, the default user and the one you created in 2 nodes. And so it's comparing the node IDs. But in Backdrop, we already had 2 pieces of content. So if you create 2 new pieces of content, it's now 4. And so the only way I could figure out how to fix this was like, rather than just creating 1 user, it would count the pieces of content and then loop over to create extra users. So now we have 4 users. So it's comparing the node IDs of the content and the users. Yeah. But that means all of the tests that are like, this result should have 2 records now has like 4 records. So yeah. I'm having to go through and like update everything. So who knew that creating default content would create such a headache in test land? But yeah. So I even tried, my first attempt, why this took so long, I tried to switch to the testing profile that has 0 pieces of content. But because the test uses the tags field, which is part of the default standard install, I had to then create the content type and then create the field and then take the same instance and apply it. And it was just didn't work. I was trying, I'm like, why is it so hard to create all of the things I need? Because then it was like, okay, well, now we're going to add, there's some other field, like it tried one field of each type. And so there was something about like when you created a specific field type wasn't the same. And I was just like, I've spent 3 hours trying to recreate what's in the standard profile. I'm just going to switch back to using the standard profile and create extra users and see if that'll work. But if anybody else wants to try and do this test better, I would definitely welcome you to do it. But for now, I just want to get it done so that all of my sites aren't broken after people push the like update my site button, which I really want them to use. So
we even had a person mention these breakage in the forum, and I pointed them to the issue.
Yeah, there is a working fix there. It's just not in yet.
We're there, almost there.
Almost there. Whew, okay, so that was my bad Friday. But let's move on to things that make us happy. Stuff that's scheduled for Backdrop 1.14. We have a couple of big new features coming. Fieldable files. This is a pull request that Doc Wilmot worked on, I think maybe 2 minor releases ago. And it got pretty close. He's got pretty much all of file entity converted to Backdrop code. I'm trying to do a sort of a user experience pass in it, but it's good because I'm trying to test all of the nooks and crannies, and I found a couple of problems with differences between how Backdrop handles things and Drupal handled things. So right now, the file upload independent of anything else form is not working. So I'm currently working to fix that. But hopefully that'll have a working testable version soon. Nate was supposed to give us a report on the trusted host patterns issue, but because he's not here this week, we'll defer to next week on that. But Gregory, do you want to give us an update on?
So basically, it just needs review and testing, and eventually there will be a follow-up where people can. Let me recap what it is. So D8 has introduced this trusted host patterns thing to prevent some security issues from happening, but they've done it in a way that it's disruptive both when the users are installing it, because it demands that to be set, and for existing sites because they end up broken actually with just a blank page that says something like an error, throws that. So that issue is set to be backported to D7 as well. And I'm guessing that if they take the same approach as D8, it is going to be a headache as well. The approach that we're taking in Backdrop is less intrusive, as in we support this setting and we have a notification, just a notice, not an error in the status page, but we do not enforce it. So that the respective documentation pages have been created in b.org, but they're unpublished. The code is there that implements the feature via the settings PHP. And there will eventually be a follow-up, I guess, to allow that from the UI as well, so that it's even less intrusive. So now we basically warn people and ask them to go and mess with code with settings PHP. It would be great if we just said, oh, you haven't set that, but here's a UI to do it. And that's it.
So Gregory, you're also up for an update on configurable layout templates.
Yeah, so this is pretty close, and thanks Doc Wilmot for all the work. And it's really exciting. It's probably going to be one of the most exciting features that will come with 1.14. So most of the basic things have been done to get a most viable product out. It's just that we need to iron out a few details. So the latest iteration includes being able to drag and drop and change the ordering of rows. The only things that Doc Wilmot has posted a few questions now with the outstanding tickets with discussion, or maybe he doesn't understand what exactly is asked from him. So we just need to chime in the ticket and just explain things or discuss on how they should be implemented. There's a few design questions as well there. There quite a few of them can be follow-up issues. Doesn't have to wait. And I think the soonest that we get it in, then all the sandbox projects will be created using that. They will have that so people can start testing it along with whatever other things we're implementing. So we'll figure out breakages, we'll have more exposure to it. But yeah.
All right, so on the 114 milestone, we also have a more TBD item here, because anyone who is really passionate about anything in particular is welcome to become an advocate for an issue. You don't have to be a developer, you just have to really want to get that issue into core and be willing to give us an update here weekly. It doesn't have to be every week, but just letting us know how that issue is progressing, and hopefully you'll be able to bother people in Gitter or in the issue queue or wherever else to get them to help you move that issue forward. So if you need help with developers, you can bug developers. If you need help from reviewers, you can ask people to test it. As long as you are motivated to help get that change into core, you can be an advocate for the issue. If you're wondering what to be an advocate for, you're welcome to search our issue for any issue that's tagged with milestone candidate minor. And those are things that someone at some point in the past has thought would be a good candidate for core. If you see anything in there that you're like, oh, obviously we need this thing, I want to get it done, that would be a good place for you to start. You're welcome to add the milestone to any issue that already has that label and add yourself as an advocate. You can just edit the main issue and put your name in there. Or if you have something new that's not on that list yet, you can create a new issue and add that label. And as long as somebody else agrees with you that that issue is a high enough priority to make it into core, you can go ahead and add the milestone.
Yep. So maybe as a notable mention over the recent couple of days, issue 3072, which is about allowing the edit or create forms to sort of like be utilizing the regions so that you can put certain things on the sidebar and land and make it. I'm not sure if he has any capacity to work on it for this circle for 114, but it would be great.
So I will be thinking about that now that I have time.
Yeah, that's why actually I wanted to put Laren on the spot, and then yeah, for people that haven't chosen anything to advocate.
At one point there was discussion about focusing on security issues. Is that kind of just not happening?
You mean with a specific core release focus thing?
Yeah.
So we still have like the issue that Gregory's working on is security related. I think security issues are high priority in general, and we can get them into pretty much every bug fix release unless it's something major. And so I don't think we need to have a specific release that's focused on it. We were more concerned about having a whole bunch of things in our milestones that nobody was working on. And we thought it was more important to go with the advocate approach and let the core be more determined by what the needs of our community are than by what the PMC dictates. But with every minor release, we do post like, hey, PMC, what do you think we should be working on right now? And we get feedback from them to make sure that what the community wants is in line with what they think Backdrop should be doing. And we link to the current milestones and say, does anyone have any objections to the stuff that we're currently working on? So if there's something that we're working on that we shouldn't be working on, we'll be stopped. But we are more empowered to make those decisions without PMC coming in and doing it for us.
To answer the question with regards to security, is just that we noticed that there's a bunch of security related things that are touching on the UI. So we thought that maybe they deserve a page on their own and maybe a menu on their own. So we're trying to figure that out. It doesn't have to be a thing release specific.
Yeah,
it's just that because these things are sort of like they seem that they will be added soon-ish, we need a place for them.
Yeah. And I think that's something that, once we have it ready, it could probably go in a bug fix release if it's going to be user interface, because, that's sort of a user experience thing where it's like, hey, we want to make it easier for you to get all of the things that make your site secure in the same place. And I think that should correspond with like security blog posts, a security item being added to the PMC's principles, like all of the security stuff kind of going on at the same time is fine. I don't think we need to tie it to a release. If it gets done before that, that's great. If it doesn't get done during the release, that's fine too. We just want to make sure it gets done eventually.
Yeah. there's other things as well. So the security page on its own sort of like touches on another thing, just tidying up the user interfacing, like making it easier for people to find things. And this is also sorting out the like we have the core updates, which are also security, the automatic core updates, and we needed a settings page for them, and we sort of like contemplating where that would be best placed, and then related to that is merging all the individual 3 update modules, update layouts, and update themes thing. So there's correlated sort of like planned features would seem to be sort of like we seem to have a general consensus on what like direction of what we need to do. It's just things falling into place slowly. It's the tiny things that make its release like a small surprise, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. In a good way.
All right, back to the agenda. I think that's it. We do have an item on here for the 1.15.0 milestone. We haven't added any issues to it yet. I was thinking, Gregory, this might be another good way people could adopt more than one issue, where they have one they're working on for 1.14 and one for 1.15. But it could also be that people want to focus on what they're focusing on now before they're focusing on something else. So I'm tempted to remove this issue from our weekly meetings so that we don't have to talk about them. And then if people do want to adopt them, they can, but we don't have to have the same, we don't have to have an update weekly if it's not going to be in the next release. But I did just want to throw that out there. If you're one of those people that wants to run a lot of things at once.
See how I have a devilish smile, and the moment that you mentioned it, I go, loophole.
I made you a loophole.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can work on things without having a specific milestone for them, and if they're close to ready, then I have an excuse just to push for things.
Just get them done quicker, Gregory. Then you can move.
Okay.
Reduce my hours of sleep from a few to 0.
Exactly. If only never. Yeah, man. Sleep takes up so much of my day.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's it for today's agenda. Is there anything we wanted to talk about? I wanted to talk about GitHub stuff. I don't know if we did this before the meeting was broadcasting or not, but issue templates would be really great for our op contrib repositories. This is where people request maintainer applications and for request ports of modules. I think if we can help them form their requests in a way that tells them what they need, that's going to be really helpful for anyone new to joining the community. There's also this new thing that GitHub just put out that's a project template that is intended for boilerplate code, but I think it might be really useful for Backdrop in terms of training people on how to create a module theme or layout. And we could add like example module for Drupal was really great about showing how like lots of different APIs could be implemented. We could have something that's a much simpler version of that just has all of the files, where it could have like a hook menu that references a different file. And then in the file, we could have like a, example of a form or something like that, where if someone was building a module, they could use this as a template. All of the code is in there, maybe commented out, so it wouldn't do anything if they weren't going to use it. They could see the file structure. There's a directory for CSS, a directory for JavaScript, a directory for templates. Maybe we don't need to put anything in those directories, but just having them there might be a good starting point for someone working on any kind of Backdrop project.
Yeah. It makes more sense for new projects though, rather than porting, because the first step of porting is maintain the history from d.org. So a blank slate would not make sense in that case. Yeah.
That's another thing too, is I'm not sure how many new contrib projects we're getting for Backdrop right now. I think the majority of them probably is coming from Drupal. At least the only thing new that I've been working on is the SVG field, which sounds like there's already a Drupal module. There is. So, silly me, of course there is.
Yeah, there's two actually. One is I think a D8 only thing, and then the other one is D8, D7 one. I think I have links already for them. Austin on Twitter.
So I think that's a good idea. Maybe not a priority because
Yep.
reports. Okay.
Just another idea. So we have certain issues that start as questions, and then we have feature requests. I think that at some point, maybe I'm confusing things with other projects, but I think there was a tag for idea, as in here's an idea. It's not actually a feature request, but an idea of how things could work. I'm not sure.
Is that
Just-
something we want in the forum instead?
Yeah, we could do that. Yep.
I mean, I think it's fine either place. I just think if it's not something we can have a pull request on, it might be better in the forum because we might get more eyes on it. But if it's
Yeah.
something that's actionable where it's like, okay, here's this
Yeah.
thing. But until we have anything actionable, it would be great to have a wider conversation.
Yeah, maybe it makes sense. It's just that over the last month, I think I came up with 3 issues that were not actually tasks. They were not actually feature requests. They were not questions. Oh, yeah. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
It's my OCD kicking in. No,
Yeah.
don't worry.
I like to have things organized too. Yeah, I also wonder if maybe we should direct. So if anyone does try and create like a question, that issue template should maybe say you can also ask questions in and give them some more resources to like live chat and forum and whatever. So it's like, sure, you can ask it here, but just so you know, this isn't your only avenue. The same thing, we could do the same thing for ideas. If you wanted an idea tag and an idea template where it would be like ideas or something, get more people involved if they're in the forum or something like that. So yeah, anything you think would be, wherever people are going to look for things, we should put resources.
Oh, we do that already for the question thing.
Okay.
It says, feel free to post your question here, but you might want to consider posting your question in the Backdrop forum or Gitter. So
Great.
We've done that already.
Fantastic. You're on it.
Yeah.
I think that was my pull request.
Yes, it was yours.
Thank you. I love it when you guys think all the good things before I think them up.
And actually do them as well.
And do them. It's even better. Thinking them is great too.
Yeah, cool.
All right. Anything else? No? Okay. Well, let's wrap and we'll see you guys in the issue queue.
See you guys.